Alright, let's talk about the NSA surveillance program real quick. I know you've probably heard of it, but you might not exactly know what it is. Basically, in the smallest of nutshells, it's the government destroying the Fourth Amendment, ripping it up and setting it on fire, and saying that they can now have a blanket warrant which allows them to surveil, read email, telephone records, data, all this stuff on us with a blanket warrant without having any specific probable cause. If they just think that we're involved, or if someone, an American citizen, is involved in some sort of terrorist activity, or knows of a terrorist activity, then they can basically steal our records. And actually a report was just released a few days ago that says the NSA has the capabilities of monitoring 75% of the internet. That's pretty crazy, 75% of the internet. But this really is old news if you have a history book. I mean, I don't mean old news in the fact that it's a day old, it's a week old, it's a month old, or even a year old. I mean old news in the sense that if you went back and talked to John Adams, the John Adams, and we're like, hey man, have you heard of these warrants, these broad warrants that just allow for the government to snoop into all your stuff and your houses and your goods and look for stuff that they think you're hiding? And he would turn to you and say, yeah, didn't we already take care of that? Because this has already happened in the United States. We've already experienced this. Our founding fathers already experienced this. And it wasn't called the NSA at this time. It was called writs of assistance, and they were given by King George II. Were given these warrants that allowed for these officials of the court to basically, whoever they wanted to, these warrants would last for 10 years or however long the king was alive, but it didn't go to a specific person. It just allowed them to basically say, oh, you look like you're smuggling goods. I'm going to go through all of your stuff. So what happened was King George II died, King George III came up, and then all of these warrants were going to have to be revamped because the new person was king. And the people, James Otis and all these other people, lawyers, were pissed off and did not want this. It was a violation of their right. The government or the king had no legal authority to do this, so they took it to court. But the real inspiring thing about this is when John Adams, he was a young lawyer at the time sitting in the courthouse, and he later wrote that as he walked away from the courthouse, there was a lighting, the spark that led to the fire of the revolution. He said that these writs of assistance were the spark that led to the fire of revolution. He was quoted saying, then and there the child independence was born. In 15 years, namely in 1776, that's when the Declaration of Independence was written, he grew to manhood and declared himself free. He recognized that these writs of assistance were what really sparked the revolution. So, looking at that today, from today's perspective, when our same freedoms, liberties to privacy are being threatened by the NSA, I cannot but ask the question, where is our revolution? Is it coming? Because really, these writs of assistance are what the Fourth Amendment was written about. These writs of assistance, this court case with John Adams and James Otis going against these writs of assistance, that was what was in their minds when they wrote the Fourth Amendment, to protect against that. So if John Adams saw this as the spark that led to the fire of a revolution, then I'm just looking for a revolution. Stay tuned.